Powered by Righteous Media.
Welcome to Independent Americans. Welcome to episode 382. It is Wednesday, November 26th, the day before Thanksgiving. I am your host, Paul Rieckhoff, and we've got a lot to be thankful for. It has been a wild couple of weeks. Thank you to all of you who've been tuning in daily to this show as we continue to bring light to contrast to heat, continue to focus on the intersection of national security, politics, foreign affairs, culture, and more. We didn't want to take a break for Thanksgiving because I think it's an important time, A, to be thankful, B, to be thoughtful, and C, to have content. So maybe you're on a ride to grandma's house, maybe you're on a flight, maybe you're just sitting on your couch, or maybe you're working a double shift. Big shout out to everybody who's working this holiday weekend. But we want to bring you a special episode, one that will give you reason to be thankful and one that will give you reason to be inspired. From the beginning of this show, over 5 years ago, we focused on the independent movement. Independent folks who represent now the majority of America. They're not Democrats or Republicans. And the brave men and women who are stepping up to run for public office as independents. You've been around for the origin and the creation of Independent Veterans of America, the organization that I've started with help from lots of folks you've heard on this podcast, like Admiral Mike Mullen, Sebastian Younger, Ken Burns, and many more. They've helped us build this machine that is designed to find, support, and elect a new generation of leaders, powerful, independent leaders with integrity and character and strength to meet this moment without the partisanship. You've talked to these folks. You've heard from them. Many of you have supported them, donated to their campaigns. And earlier this month, there was an election, and it wasn't a high-profile one relative to presidential elections, but we got some key wins. And as we go into Thanksgiving, we want to reflect on the wins we've got and the future that is ahead of us. There is an inspiring group of independent Americans who are stepping up to run for office next year. There are elections in 2026 that could define the power of the Senate, of the House, and local school boards, mayor's races. We've been talking to a number of them, and I'm going to talk to more of them after Thanksgiving and into early next year. But Independent Veterans of America in particular is focused on veterans who are getting people's trust, who are breaking through the partisanship, who are representing a new kind of leadership. And about 2 weeks ago, I brought them all together. I brought our recent winners and some of our most high-profile folks we've supported in the past and folks we're going to support in the future for a conversation among a new generation of leaders who have stepped into the breach. They won a couple of weeks ago, and they want to win again in the weeks to come. And they're a really dynamic group from all over the country, different political backgrounds, different personal backgrounds, different genders, different races. But together, they form kind of a Super Friends network that I'm going to highlight on this show. So we're going to take this conversation that we had on Zoom with these leaders, and I'm going to break it into 2 episodes. You're going to get part 1 today, and you're going to get part 2 tomorrow on Thanksgiving. And we're going to understand that there is a new group of leaders stepping up to meet this moment. And they are really, really a cool and inspiring bunch. You're going to hear from me. I'm going to frame it all up. Then you're going to hear from Mike Procuk. He ran for office in Frederick County, Virginia School Board, and he won. Then you're going to hear from Toby Proctor up in North Granby, Connecticut. He ran and won for the Board of Finance. Then you're going to hear from the next phase, the folks who are stepping up to run for office for the U.S. Senate in 2026. Todd Achilles, Idaho U.S. Senate candidate, really inspiring guy. Then you're going to hear from Donna Charles, who ran for governor in Virginia and may be running again. Watch for her, and I think you'll be inspired. And Brian Bengs from South Dakota, a U.S. Senate candidate who's looking to challenge the status quo and send shockwaves across the political landscape. Then you're going to hear from Ty Pickens, incredibly dynamic guy from Mississippi, a U.S. Senate candidate down there. And finally, closing it out, Dan Osborne, the superstar of the last election for the independent movement, who is running again in Nebraska for U.S. Senate. They're going to give you an update on how their campaigns are going. They're going to give you a shot in the arm that I think will carry you through this holiday that's been full of division and nastiness and partisanship and the worst of our politics. And as Trump continues to weaponize the Department of Defense and the FBI, we've covered it on this show, these folks are going to be in the crosshairs, not just from Trump and the Republicans, but from the Democrats and the Democratic establishment as well. But I think they give us reason to be thankful this Thanksgiving. An amazing group of men and women who are just 8 so far. But I expect we will have over 100 independent veterans running for office in 2026. And you're going to be a part of it. I'm going to keep you updated on this show, and I hope you will step up and run yourself if you're interested or if you're able, or support those who are. I hope you really enjoy this conversation, and I hope you're getting ready for Thanksgiving. We are here. The pots are getting ready. Families coming into town. We're going to celebrate Thanksgiving here in New York. We're going to go see the balloons get blown up in a couple of hours, with my kids, which is cool and fun. But we're going to take a break from the madness, at least for a couple hours, and reflect on so much to be thankful for, even in times like this. But I personally am very thankful for all of you, and I hope you enjoy this special conversation with an amazing group of leaders. Here's part 1 of a conversation with independent veterans who are stepping into the breach. They are here to help us all stay vigilant. Welcome, everybody. I'm Paul Rieckhoff. I'm the president and founder of Independent Veterans of America. I want to welcome you and, first of all, say Happy Veterans Day. You know, Veterans Day, I think, is a really unique time in this country where we celebrate our community, we remember our values, and I think most importantly, especially in times like this, it's positive and unifying, and I hope that it brings people together, especially a week after a pretty divisive election and coming out of the shutdown and everything else. Veterans are a real source of inspiration, hope, and I think unity. So I was at a couple of Veterans Day activities today here in New York. I'm in a green room at CNN where I share that because I was on television with Anderson Cooper talking about potential war with Venezuela, which would create a whole new generation of veterans that would be marching in the parades that we just came from. So I think it's an important time to underscore how important veterans leadership is. That's why we created IVA, is to find, unite, recruit, and elect independent veterans. We think that today, especially, people understand that you men and women, are the hope for the future and the leadership that they're looking for. So I'm honored to be in touch with you. I want to give a big shout out to Chris Rosenthal, who is our head of operations, our make shit happen guy, and my stunt double. I say that, you know, we're so independent that he actually lives in Indianapolis, which was not part of the plan, but I think it's a testament to how true we are to our mission. A lot of folks have helped us get IVA off the ground, a little over a year ago on July 4th. And I'm really thankful to all of them, everybody from Sebastian Younger to, I think I saw some folks like Eric Bronner's on here. I think I saw Craig Ordeer and others. So many folks from all different backgrounds and different professions who've helped us get this going. And I think the bottom line is we're just getting started. Last year was kind of, a proof of concept. This year was small but focused. Next year is the coming out party. And, we have a goal to recruit over 100 men and women to run across the country. And based off the interest we've seen so far, we might blow through those numbers. So it's really exciting. And many of you on this call are embodying that spirit and frankly, just motivating people to come off the sidelines and jump in and showing them it's possible, not just in winning, but running and being out there and raising your voice in the issues they care about. So today, as with all our calls, I want to try to keep it focused. First of all, just want to thank everybody for coming. I want to say Happy Veterans Day. And then I want to go around the horn and let you all hear from each other. We're recording this conversation. If anybody has a problem with that, please let us know. But I'd like to use part of it, at least in my podcast, maybe later this week, and share it with others. But this is just a start of bringing us all together. And I hope we can do it in person soon. This is just a start. Many of y'all did it on last minute notice. So thank you for that. I know many of you have been out in the cold or working your butts off at Veterans Day activities all across the country. So I hope this is a powerful and inspiring way to end it, because it sets us up for what's next. I'll speak for, Chris and me. We get so many notes from folks, especially over the last couple of weeks, who say, hey, how do I get involved? How do I run? I saw you. I saw the mission. I never heard of y'all before, and you're what I've been looking for. I got an opportunity today to go on C-SPAN, Washington Journal, took phone calls and talked about our mission, and we continue to get a ton of feedback from folks who saw that. So we're going to go around the horn. I think we've got everybody listed. We got Todd Achilles, Ty Pinkins, Toby Proctor, Mike Procuk, Dan Osborne, and Brian Bengs. And I just want to start with the two guys that won last week, because we called this the winner's circle. I think it's important for folks to understand that, independents aren't spoilers. Independents are the future, and they're winning. We've got these two guys here today who are going to share whatever they like, give you all like 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes each. And then we'll go around the horn here from the 4 guys who are running for Senate. And then if we've got some time at the end, I'm happy to moderate a little bit of a conversation. But this is intended to be not the end, but the beginning. So, Mike, maybe let's start with you if we can. Frederick County, Virginia School Board. I know y'all are on mute, but I give it up for Mike on his victory, on also the way you ran your campaign, and I'll throw it over to you, man. Happy Veterans Day. How did you do it, and what did you learn?
Thank you. Thank you. Serving, I would say serving was an honor. Everything I have, I owe to the Army, right? I mean, it allowed me to focus myself and achieve everything that I've got today. This campaign was the whole reason it started was the guy I was running against, right? He was a extreme right-wing candidate running for school board here in, northwestern Virginia. It was not a good fit. It was not a good fit for our teachers. It was not a good fit for our schools. Wasn't a good fit for the students. I run a nonprofit for girls basketball. My wife is the PTO president at the elementary school. Everybody knows me as Coach Mike. I umpire. I'm at all the events even my kids don't play. Right? We've got 2 state level volleyball teams here in the county that are vying off for the state title. They eliminated each other last night, so it was kind of disappointing. But it was a true grassroots campaign. I got called everything from, extremist, liberal, Democrat, that's coming here to mess up the schools, to the weak Republican, just name after name, making it up. I kept it clean, right? I never got embattled in those back and forth. I kept it focused on the kids, the teachers, the families. I got 11,000 voters in my district. I think I walked to just under 2,000 houses by the end of it. And we made 95% contact between text messaging, handshaking. I had 116 signs up in people's yards, and most of those were retired police chiefs, teachers, principals. I mean, everybody of importance had my sign up. We ended up taking 65% of the vote. It's the largest margin of victory by a school board candidate in my district ever. As far as local races go, it's the largest margin of victory by an independent candidate ever. I was out at the polls from 2:00 in the morning till 7:00 at night, and we were sitting around the house till midnight waiting for everything to be announced. It couldn't be more humbling and inspiring. I'm super excited. I love what you guys are doing, and I'm a testament to what can be achieved by remaining fluid, remaining in the middle, finding out what's important to the people in the community and the state, wherever it is you're running, and speaking to them. People really appreciated that. The feedback was, at the polls, they had at one point in time, I had five places to cover. I sent all my volunteers out, and I stayed at the one that I knew would be the hotbed by myself. I had seven women from I can't remember what the name of the organization is here, but they're Republicans at one time, and me. So I'm running back and forth from side to side, and they're handing out sample ballots. They're like, "Hey, here's a Republican sample ballot. We've got a very conservative candidate here for school board." And I sat there right in front of the voters and said, "What does that mean? What are you telling this person? What does very conservative mean when you're talking about a school board?" And they had no answers, right? So me handing my own paper out to Mike, I'm running as an independent, here for the teachers, here for the kids. There's some more information on the back. I'm here. I'm talking to you. Any questions? And I had a lot of questions, a lot of conversations, a lot of talking that day, but very few people had never seen me. Very few people had never heard of me. Very few people, came to the polls, completely in the dark about who I am and what I stand for. But that was work. It was a lot of work, ton of support in the community. And I'm super proud of what my circle did for me, and really excited to see what we can do for the next 4 years. I'm thinking probably go 2 terms because, you win by that kind of margin. I don't think anybody's going to have the guts in 4 years to run again. So we've got probably 8 good years with the school system here to get things headed in the right direction.
Great stuff, Mike. Congratulations to you. Everybody give it up Mike. I really want to credit you, your family, your community. You're showing what's possible, man. And then everybody's path is different. Everybody's strategy, I think, is different. So much of this is local to go from Virginia. We're going to talk to Toby in a second. Connecticut's very different, but I'm really impressed by the diversity of geography we have here. And, from local school board all the way up to U.S. Senate. So, Mike, thank you for joining us. If folks want to leave anything in the chat to share with the group, please do that. Come offline. You want me to connect you guys? Happy to do that. Let's go over, please, to Toby Proctor, North Granby, Connecticut, Board of Finance. Another big winner for us last week up in Connecticut. Toby, congratulations to you and your team. Thank you for carrying the flag for independent vets everywhere. I'll throw it over to you for a couple minutes, please, Toby. Tell us how'd you do it and what'd you learn?
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Mike, you did it a slightly different way than I did, but I think that the key to your point, Mike, I think the key was literally getting in front of people and just talking to them, and separating myself from the rest of the Democrats was challenging because my name was actually literally on the same line as the Democrats. So I had to constantly say, listen, I'm unaffiliated. And the second I said unaffiliated, they all of a sudden were like, oh, really? And I'd say, I'm also a veteran. That's like the two, left and a right. And they're saying, wow, okay, I can trust this guy. And he he's not owned by one of the parties. So he's going to do what's right for Granby. So I think that definitely helped my candidacy. And I think it certainly kind of surprised me, to be honest with you, that I got it. But the IVA, the actual endorsement was huge. I think that really, really helped people recognize that I was not owned by the major parties, and I'm working for Granby specifically. So I definitely appreciate all the help that Paul and Chris and all you guys have done.
That's awesome, Toby. Give it up for Toby, everybody. I think, as I told a lot of you guys, I know sometimes it's lonely and you're out there banging away for a long period of time, but whatever boost we could give and recognition and amplification. And on Veterans Day, it's a good point. It's a good time to remind folks, just knowing you're not alone in this fight. There are other folks out there who are taking the hard right path. I was actually doing television on the night of the election when the results were coming in, and the whole country was focused on the governor's race in New Jersey and the governor's race in Virginia and the mayor's race in New York City. And I got a note from Toby at 10:01. It said, "Hey, Paul, just want to let you know I just won my election. Thank you so much for this." Well, that was the best note that we got, and I sent it right over to Chris, and we're just really, really amped, man, and you're showing it's possible. So thank you, Toby, for your leadership and your integrity and your creativity, man. You got to figure out a way. We always say in the Army, adapt, improvise, and overcome, and you're doing that. So thank you for that. All right, we're going to go around the horn now. I want to give another shout out to our friend Eric Bronner from Veterans for All Voters, Craig O'Deer, who's himself run. But Eric, I want to give you a shout out because so many folks are now coming out of Veterans for All Voters. You all are doing awesome work. And so many leaders are coming out of that community and are now getting ready to run. And I told Eric, I always hope he will run at some point soon. But in the meantime, you've had our back, and I just want to thank you especially. And let's go over, please, to Idaho. We're going to go to Todd Achilles. I didn't give you guys a lineup card, so I know you can all flex here and go lead off or clean up. But Todd and I got in touch last year and when he was exploring running. And, I've been really impressed by his strategy, his focus, his tenacity. And I had a longtime supporter and mentor of mine who's a Navy SEAL who's skeptical about just about everything. And he said, I'm not sure about this. Let me talk to this guy. And he came back and he said, all right, I see it. And he said, if this guy can convince me that he can see it, then that means your entire proof of concept for IVA is real. And I think that's part of the hump we got to get people over. We got to show them that there is a really focused strategy. They're really good people, but there's also a way to win. And Todd, you've done a good job of that, and you've been really crafty and hardworking. So over to you, sir. Please share with us where you are and what you think is important for folks to know at this point.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, Paul. Appreciate all the work you've been doing. How many TV spots did you do today?
Too many.
You were busy, man. It's good to see you. You need to take the day off here. Congrats, Mike and Toby. I love how you guys are doing it, man. It's all. When I was running for the legislature in Idaho, it's all about knocking on the doors and just having that conversation. And I, raised my hand. I'm one of the guys that was part of Veterans for Idaho Voters, spinning out of Eric's organization. I worked hard on an open primaries initiative in Idaho. We got our ass handed to us, but the cause is just, and we're going to be back at it. I mean, my background, I'm a farm kid from Oregon. I served as a tanker on active duty for a couple of years, and then spent 20 years in the wireless industry before wanted to return to public service, and started teaching public policy, kind of inching in my way into politics. And a position came open in my neighborhood in Boise, and I raised my hand, got appointed. And then when I ran for my election, I mean, my district is only 25% Dem, and I got 60% of the vote. And I tell you, the number one thing I heard when I was knocking on people's doors is, man, Todd, you're a better Republican than that crazy on the ballot. And, I was running as a Dem, and there's only, in the Idaho House, there's only 9 Dems out of 70. So, I mean, if you can't be bipartisan, and if you can't have just honest conversations with people, then you're going to get absolutely nothing done in that building. And I built a reputation as being one of the most bipartisan in the House. But I tell you, I mean, when you look at Congress, it's hard enough to reach across party lines in the Idaho House. But when you look at Congress, man, I mean, we're dysfunctional. We're failing as a country right now. And what's interesting about Idaho is we have 2 of the most powerful senators out of the 100. Each of them's a chair of a Big 4 committee. I mean, Idaho's punching so far above its weight right now, but yet these guys are consistently voting against the interests of Idahoans, particularly rural Idahoans. Like, these Medicaid cuts just devastate our rural hospitals. And you just go down the list. It's like, what the hell are you guys doing? I mean, with 2 of the most powerful senators in the U.S., I mean, Idaho should be paved in gold right now, right? I mean, these guys should be bringing everything back to the state, and we're not seeing any of it. And Idahoans see it too. 44 counties in Idaho. I just finished the last one last week. It took me about 6 weeks on the road, 8,000 miles on my van. And I've got, red hats and hard hats and cowboy hats showing up. I mean, it's just been great discussions all around the state. And the thing that's really surprised me is everybody sees the same problem, right? They see the rigged economy. They see the corruption in Congress. They see that we're just not functioning as a nation anymore. They just said we have 2 different theories of how you fix it, right? 2/3 of Idaho voted for Trump. They see Trump as the disruptor, as the one that's going to drive change and get the country running again. And then the other third thinks Trump is the problem and that the Democrats are going to bring change. And unfortunately, the reality is it's both of these parties. I mean, the corruption just runs so deep, and we saw this on the whole shutdown negotiation. So, when I tell folks I'm running as an independent and that I served on active duty, same reaction, Toby and Mike, as to what you guys have. I mean, I think people appreciate that, appreciate just being nonpartisan, just, how to solve hard problems in a nonpartisan way. We're building support across the state. I mean, listen, this is going to be a tough race, but we're running against one of the least popular senators out of the 27 that are running again. So there's a path to win. We're going to have to bust our ass and raise a lot of money, but there's definitely a path to win. So I'll turn it back over to you, Paul.
Thank you, man. And I also want to give you credit for the prettiest backdrop I've seen yet. That looks like a nice spot. And it brings me to a point that, Chris and I have been hatching a lot of plans. And I mentioned this to many of you before. We'd like to get everybody together in person. I hope maybe first quarter of next year. That place behind you looks like a good spot. Maybe we can do it, or maybe it'll be in New York or DC or somewhere else. But I do want to build on the momentum and the connections, because I know many of y'all have been connecting, behind the scenes, and your campaigns are sharing information. But also we've been talking about things like access to voter data, how you're using fundraising platforms, how we can help you raise your media profile. And this is a story that I think is very exciting too, and you all are a part of that. I think I see Donna Charles out there and want to give her a shout out as well. We were proud to endorse her down in Virginia. Donna, I didn't prep you for this, but if you don't mind, maybe I can pivot to you for a second. Just want to give you the floor and thank you for your leadership. You stepped up in a big race. And as I've told a lot of folks, this road is long, and we're looking forward to seeing candidates who continue to take swings and evolve and serve in new ways. But if you don't mind, Don, I know I didn't give you a heads up on this. Just any insights you want to share. I want to thank you. We were proud to endorse you and want to give you the mic for a couple minutes here to share anything with the group you'd like.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for not only having this, but also just happy Veterans Day to everybody. It's an honor to be on this platform with all of these amazing folks who have stepped up to serve in uniform. So thank you so much. And just for the opportunity to be here and learn and listen. It was definitely a difficult road to hoe, as you can imagine. Running as an independent for one of the highest offices that you could possibly do right out of the gate is no easy task. And I learned a lot of very good lessons. I will say, though, that during my time on the campaign trail, when I introduced myself, in which I'll actually do that right now. My name is Donna Charles, for those who don't know. Air Force intelligence officer. That was my background, 14 November. Did a couple of tours in Iraq during the time of the height of the EJKs down there in Dora District and things like that. So spent a lot of time looking at some really gnarly ISR video. I was a ISR operations officer, so a lot of difficult things. Anyway, moving on. I jumped into this race knowing that it was going to be very difficult, but I knew it was also an opportunity to get out there, make sure people know that independents are stepping up. And I'm very appreciative of the endorsement. It was pretty much the highlight of not only my day, but pretty much my month. So thank you so much for believing in me. And I look forward to taking the lessons I learned from being on the campaign trail as an independent, as somebody who was the underdog, and looking at some local offices in the next couple of weeks that'll probably be a better fit. While I was on the campaign trail, I will say, though, that when I told people that I was running as an independent, the reaction I got was like Mike was saying, like Todd was saying, like Toby was saying, and first and foremost, Mike, Toby, congratulations on your races. All those who won, congratulations. People were more than receptive. They were very open to the idea because they identified as independents. And they would open up in a way that I found was really compelling and really motivating, because these are people who realize, not just from the recent years, but just over a period of decades, that we are in a very difficult place politically. Where we are right now is a bit of a hellscape, obviously, and it did not happen overnight. And a lot of the people that I engaged with on the campaign trail were not just people who were often underrepresented, not the people that you would see in the glossy pics that other candidates were oftentimes elevating and campaigning with. These are working class people. These are people who were not necessarily aligned to any one party. They just knew that things weren't working. Things weren't working no matter who they voted for, no matter what they did. And they were underrepresented and they were detached. They felt disenfranchised from the entire process. And that's something that I'm going to take with me in my next run. And I'm still sorting everything out. I'm still taking a lay of the land, primarily because we are now, as Mike probably knows, we are now going to be in the midst of this redistricting battle, this gerrymandering arms race that is going to beset Virginia here in a couple of months. And so that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for me to consider. So rather than jumping on the next grenade that comes rolling at me, I'm going to look at the landscape and understand how I can leverage the information I gained from the trail, leverage this wonderful endorsement that I got from you all. Thank you so much. And determine how I can best serve at the local level. So, but with that, I learned a lot of things, and I know that there are a lot of opportunities out there, but these types of meetings, and this is something that I'm very appreciative that you're having, Paul and Chris, I cannot tell you how important it is for me to hear from people who have gone out there, who are doing amazing things. Dan Osborne, I see you on Twitter all the time doing all of the wonderful work, making sure people know that there are folks being left behind. There are folks being forgotten, and the policies that are rolling out of Washington right now are a dagger in the heart, especially to those of us who served. So I'm really excited to see what comes next, and I'm very appreciative again. Once again, I know I keep saying it, but it's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Give it up for Donna, everybody. Now you understand why we were so proud to stand with her. And I got to say, we've got folks. We don't want to just talk about the folks who won, because there's a lot of wins that move forward the movement. We have to crack open the spaces. We have to get people on the ballot. A movement is about, kind of flooding the zone with different leaders, knowing that we might, take some casualties along the way, but we're going to take the hills. And Donna, you've been really brave and tenacious, and we're really proud to stand with you and excited for what's to come. Virginia's going to hear a lot more from Donna, and they're going to be impressed, and we're going to have your back and turn it up. With that, let's go to maybe the second nicest background, maybe the first nicest background. Mr. Brian Bengs, going to go over to you in South Dakota. Good to see you, my friend. When I last talked to Brian, he was running his campaign out of a trailer on some land. I mean, this guy was hardcore. I don't even know if the heat was working when I talked to you. It was starting to get cold, probably as cold as it is here in New York now. But Brian, great to see you, man. Can you please introduce yourself and tell folks what you think they need to know about the latest from you?
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. Congratulations to Mike and Toby again. What you did is awesome, and what you were able to accomplish, impressive. I was taking some notes about the endorsements that you were able to get, Toby. So that made me think of, like, maybe I should be talking to the Libertarian Party, not for a nomination, but for an endorsement, because I called myself 50% Libertarian when I was talking to them before. Can't get all the way there, but I'm halfway there with them. But anyway, thanks to IVA and Paul and Chris and everything. As you said, my name is Brian Bengs. I'm a retired Air Force officer. I'm fundamentally a product of the Department of Defense. They paid for my education, multiple degrees. They trained me to solve problems. They trained me to lead effectively. They instilled in me the importance of character for a leader and the ongoing sense of duty towards the Republic that I swore, like you guys, so many times to protect and defend throughout my life is why I'm running. And echoing basically what each one of you have said already, like so many of you, I'm angry at the DC establishment and the two-party system that always seems to look out for big money instead of the regular folks that are being left behind. And I get asked fairly routinely why I'm running as an independent. And that's often before I get scolded as being a spoiler for the party nominee. Why would you do that? You're just a spoiler. But both parties have delivered us the dysfunctional gridlock of the status quo, and they don't either want to admit it. About the only thing they can agree on, at least in South Dakota, is that they do not want to have any competition from independent candidates like us. We must be suppressed. And even in the getting on the ballot for me, I have to get literally twice as many signatures as the Republican or the Democratic nominee because, we shouldn't be competing with them, apparently. So I've been an independent for not quite 100% of my life, 90%, 97% of my life, just like a quarter of South Dakota's registered voters and nearly half of national voters. So if you look at the numbers, clearly a lot of regular folks are looking for something neither party is offering. And, we talked a little bit about, Todd mentioned things and Donna mentioned things. I'm calling it my handshake agenda. My handshake agenda for South Dakotans includes getting money out of politics. We probably can't do it all the way, but we need to get it out as much as possible. Making daily life more affordable, obviously. Making billionaires and large corporations pay their fair share, getting the national debt under control, overhauling the healthcare system, make it affordable, and just another common sense stuff that regular people would benefit from to make the American dream more accessible for the regular people that fundamentally the country is supposed to exist for. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you fellow veterans in this group to deliver a square deal for everyday folks. So if we can get some, or ideally all of us, into office, I think the wheels of change would go a long way with people that are motivated to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do for regular people.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed this conversation, part one of our dynamic conversation about the future of the independent movement and independent veterans who are stepping up. If you liked it, please share it far and wide. And especially this Thanksgiving week, invite others to declare their independence. And stay vigilant, my friends, because eternal vigilance is the price of freedom and hope. Hope is the oxygen of our democracy, especially as we head into Thanksgiving tomorrow. No, you're not alone in your vigilance, especially this Thanksgiving. If you're feeling alone, reach out. You can reach out to the show. You can reach out to others, reach out online, or contact an old friend and let them know you're thankful for them, because we are thankful for you and we are all vigilant and we're all in this together. We'll be back tomorrow on Thanksgiving with part two. Until then, stay vigilant, America, and gobble, gobble.
Powered by Righteous Media.